Hi, everyone. We're back with our town manager, who we all love, Kevin Smith.
Well, thank you, Sherry.
I just have to say it. We all feel
Well,
that
we
way.
do.
I feel so formal right now, and I feel like I should not feel so formal around, but it's wonderful to be in the presence of such greatness as the
Londonderry
four of
View.
you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The Londonderry
There's an ego
View.
boost for every one
Episode
of you.
56.
So you guys invited me on here to talk about the very exciting subject of tax rate setting.
Yes.
This is everyone's favorite.
Especially this time of year.
Especially this time of year, yes. But however, this could be the most boring show you've taped to date. I'm just going to
Wake
put
me
that
when it's
out there, right? But this is something that's on so many people's minds because most people got their tax bills recently, right? And what I find when I read a lot of things on social media or I'm talking to people in the public is a lot of people just don't know what actually goes into setting the rate and how it's set. And they may assume that it's just the budget that determines what the rate is going to be, but there's so many more things that go into the tax rate setting process. And so I was going to run through it all with you guys and then ask questions throughout it because, as I said, this can be a very dry subject, but it's an incredibly important subject so people know exactly what their money is going toward when they pay their tax bill. But also how we get to that point, right?
Right. And there's been a lot of great questions and calls coming in through the town clerk, tax collector's office.
There really
this year.
has.
People are educated, they're asking great questions,
Yeah.
but there's confusion too, so this will really help.
I think one of the things, I was speaking with someone the other day, a resident, and they weren't aware of the difference between the school rate and the town rate.
exactly, right.
And I said, my experience has always been, where I lived, that the school rate constantly kept going up higher and higher and higher, and it was always higher than what the town's rate was. And I said, examine your tax bill and you will see what the town is and the school.
Well
So
put,
it's-
Kath.
So when we talk about the rate, right? It's really the formula is this: you have your total budget, okay, divided by the total valuation of the town, gives you your rate. So we'll dive into each one of those. First, the budget, right? The budgets are set every March. So the budget season starts though in November, and it starts for both the schools and the towns in November. In this case, I'm going to mostly talk about the towns because that's what I do as the town manager. I don't have anything to do with the schools, and that goes back to what you were saying, Kathy. They're entirely separate forms of government. So the school does their own budgeting, and then the town does their own. However, it all does work into the overall tax rate. So on the town side, we start the budget process. I make a budget proposal every November. The one I just proposed this November is up only 0.5% over last year's budget. For comparison, if you look at the rate of inflation, it's about 5.9% right now, and our budget's only going up 0.5%. So it's not bad. And last year it was under 2%, right? So that budget goes through the process of public hearings, deliberative session, and then that's voted on in March, okay? And of course, the budget pays for all of your town services: town hall, police, fire, Kathy's huge salary, all of that. It's all factored in. However,
calls on that one.
we also have a lot of outside revenues, right? So people sometimes think it's just the property taxes that pay for their services. We have a lot of outside revenues that help offset what we actually have to raise in property taxes. Sherry, you're familiar with a lot of those outside revenues. The biggest one being,
Oh my goodness.
What's the biggest
our
revenue?
cars,
The
thank
cars.
goodness, our automobiles, trucks, all of the different
automobile
things.
registrations,
Yes.
even the boat registrations, but marriage licenses,
vital records, our birth certificates.
The
marriage-
dogs.
Dogs
Dogs
actually
are
bring in a lot
huge,
too.
yeah.
all of these things, plus building permits.
Yes.
There's land use change taxes. All these sort of things, these are all outside of property taxes that we bring in as outside revenue. And the biggest one is the vehicle registrations, right?
huge.
And it's been going up year over year over year, really since 2013, since I came here. It's over $9 million now that we bring
Yeah,
in.
it
So
really
that
is.
helps a lot in offsetting what we have to raise in property taxes. So once we figure out what the budget is, we subtract the outside revenue, and that ends up with the delta, the number that is determined on this is what we have to raise. And that's what's voted on in March at the town elections, okay? Now, let's stop there for a second. because inevitably, we go through presidential elections, and you've all been to them. Sherry, you run them. And we see how many people come through the door on that day. 17,000, 18,000, right, out of our 19,000 plus registered voters. How many people show up for town? And I always tell people, these are the items that are going to affect your wallet and your pocketbook the most.
Your everyday life.
When it comes to finances. And yet we only get 2,000, 2,500.
2,500, 28 if we're lucky.
If we're lucky.
If we're lucky.
On a good year.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you're bringing this up because it's a crying shame.
Yeah,
And people have to
that's-
speak with their feet.
They do.
They've got to get in there and vote.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate when people complain, but then when you
I
ask if they
know.
voted,
Yes.
they did not vote.
Right.
And it's across
Definitely.
all ages too. It's
It is.
Our young
Yeah.
people are becoming very astute in becoming out to register to vote and wanting to get involved. But sometimes it surprises me, people that I know well that will say, "Oh, I do the presidential, I do, the primaries, but the town,
I could-
if
I
I can
know.
go to the beach, I can
It's
go to whatever it is,
amazing.
Yeah.
but it's the town election, and that's where your pocket is affected.
Yeah,
It is,
it
very
really-
much
it
so.
And we have a
Definitely.
voice immediately.
And so,
Thank you.
and that also determines too the direction of the town leadership and the school leadership. That's where the town council is voted on. It's where your budget committee is voted on. It's where your school board is voted on. So, in addition to all the finance issues, you have the election matters as well. I'd jump for joy if we could break 3,000 people some year. But again. And so people who are watching this, and hopefully we get this out on social media, I implore people to please show up for your local elections. So that's when the budget is voted on. At that point, that's only one component of the rate, okay? As I said, the next component is the valuation. So it's budget divided by your overall town valuation. And the town valuation is simply the value of all of the property in town, including utility values as well. In fact, our utility property really makes up the largest component of, the total valuation. If you took it, broke it out by a percentage of commercial, industrial, residential, and that sort of thing. We're what I would say is a utility-rich community, right? That valuation is a combination of two things. Number one, any new valuation from the previous year would get added on to the total town valuation. So you think about all of the different properties that have been built over by the airport in Pettingill Road. That's FW Webb, EFI, Pratt Whitney, UPS, Caterpillar, Bella Vance Beverage, to go on. That's all new valuation that has come on in the last 7 years to the total town valuation. Every 5 years, but now we're going to it more frequently, we do a revaluation in town. And here's why we do a revaluation. It's because we have to get the valuation of every property as close to the market as possible and what the market is doing, okay? Your revaluation is being driven by the market. It's not something that's being made up in a back,
By the town.
smoky-filled room in the assessing department. And it has to be verified and approved by the Department of Revenue with the state.
Yep.
And by the way, the state has said you cannot be 10% below market value, 100% of market value, and you can't be 10% above it. They like that spot between 90 and 110. Ideally, they would like you as close to 100 as possible. But as every year goes by and you're not doing a revaluation, whether property values go up or down, you're going to be far away from 100%. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so our not the most recent revaluation, but we had one in 2014. We used to do it on a 5-year cycle. So then the next one was in 2019. Well, guess what happened? Between 2014 and 2019, property values went way up,
Skyrocket.
right? So people saw their valuations go up by almost 25%. And it was at that point that we said, we're a community that's large enough that we really should start doing this every 2 years and not every 5 years. And many communities have gone to doing it every other year. We're
Because
not
there's less of a deep increase if you do it every 2 years.
an
or-
increase or a decrease, right? You're
Decrease, yeah.
capturing it a lot
Yeah.
sooner,
Yeah.
and you're not
Seeing a
having
big-
these wide
Yeah.
Gaps
Uh,
either way.
Yeah.
exactly. And so we went, we had it in 2019. We then did the last one this year in 2021. The market, and again, all you have to do is look at the home sales in the newspaper,
It's
right?
insane.
The market in just those 2 years went up significantly.
Yeah.
Londonderry, really a lot of southern New Hampshire, but Londonderry in particular is a hot real estate market. Why? Because we're a great place.
It's the best place.
Best
Where-
place to live. Business is
People
good.
want to live
Life
here.
is better.
Business wants to
Yeah.
locate here.
Live, work, and play right here in London.
And so, and we got great access to the highways, great access to the airport, and so we're in high demand. That high demand drives up the sale prices, right?
Right.
And here's the other thing too: is that not everything is it's not everything is equal when it comes to a reval in terms of the percentage your home is going to go up versus say your neighbors, because
That's what's hard to understand.
all the sales, it's not just single family homes. It's all broken out by, is it 55 plus? Is it mobile home units? Is it single family, ranch, splits,
Condos.
condos? All of these are in their own separate category because the market is different on all of them. And so when the revaluation is done, not everyone's home percentage is going up the same depending on what kind of home you're in
Right.
and what the sales did in those homes.
And I think you found a lot of people comparing. Like, there's one person who came in who said, my evaluation didn't go up at all. The other person's did, but they lived in two different, one was a mobile home, one was,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah,
$600,000 house.
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
There's quite
Yeah.
a difference.
And
yes.
so
But people
and
compare.
that happens.
Yeah.
But that's why we're doing this show, because we're trying to get this out and to educate as many people as possible so that they understand how this process all works, right? Because, by the way, what will happen in the springtime is the Department of Revenue will give every town what's called an equalization ratio. And what that simply means is they'll tell you how close to market you are. Remember when I said they want you to be between 20 and 110, right? They tell you how close to market you are. Before we did this revaluation, you know what our percentage was last year? 92% of market. 92.
Wow.
That's close to the 90,
Yeah.
right? And that was only 1 year off from the last reval. That's how quickly home prices are going up in town. And so we knew if we didn't do another reval, we would most likely have been below 90 at that point. I can tell you this right now. The valuations people got on their homes this year, they're as of April 1st, they're already below market. They're already below market because the market still hasn't
Crazy.
come down. You know, it's cooled off slightly, but it's still going up,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, so here's the other component too, is that it's not just homes that are getting revaluated. It's all commercial properties, and it's all industrial properties as well. Okay, those also all went up. But here's what I can tell you, again, by looking at the sales, the commercial and industrial market did not go up at the same rate that the residential properties went up. So if the average residential went up by, say, 15%, commercial and industrial was closer to 7 and 8%. Okay? So all of them went up. They didn't just all go up by the same percentage, though. And that's why some people's taxes went up and some people's taxes went down, because it all depends on what the rate was that your valuation went up. Now I'm going to throw one
interesting.
more component into this, and that is that our largest taxpayer in town, the largest taxpayer who gives us the most tax revenue, is the power plant.
Right.
Okay, up near the airport, Granite Ridge Power Plant. Granite Ridge saw a significant decrease in their value because the price of natural gas has plummeted. And that is a commodity they sell into the auction market, okay? And so a large portion of their value is based on what they're able to sell natural gas for. And where years ago it was selling for $9 a gallon, it's now selling for about $2 a gallon, okay? So they lost a significant amount of value. How much? $180 million. So that's $180 million that came off of the valuation, total town valuation,
Wow.
that then is made up by other taxpayers in town, right? Because you still have to raise the money for the budget,
Regardless.
okay?
Yeah.
So now some people, you know, have sent me a question and said, well, I don't understand, because if everybody's property value went up and you're collecting the same amount for taxes with the budget, doesn't that mean now you have a surplus of money? So let's look at the math. Here's my handy dandy whiteboard.
We'll have to make sure they zoom in on it.
I don't know if you're
Zoom
able.
in on that.
If you're able to
Yeah,
zoom
she
in,
can zoom
Erin.
in.
Okay. So again, here's the formula, right? Budget over valuation gives you your rate. So if the budget, if I have to raise in taxes $18 million, right? And my total town valuation is $4 billion, okay? I'm gonna have a town tax rate of $4.50, all right? So again, 18 million for raising in property taxes for the budget, 4 billion in valuation, $4.50 for your tax rate. Now, same budget, 18 million, right? But the valuation goes up $1 billion. So now it's $5 billion. Well, the tax rate is now $3.60, okay? So it's the same amount of money being raised, but the rate goes down significantly because the valuation goes up. But again, not all things are equal, so not everyone's valuation went up at the same percentage, which is why, even though the rate falls, you have some people that will see increases in their tax bills, some people that will see decreases in their tax bill. And that's, that's really how it happens. So let me say one more thing about this, right? Is that obviously the smaller this number is, the $18 million, right? That's less money that we have to raise in property taxes. So we run budget surpluses, right? And the reason we run budget surpluses is because we only spend what we need, we don't spend what we want. And so, put it this way, we can't overspend. So we're always gonna have a budget surplus of some amount, because by law, we cannot overspend what was appropriated. In our case on the town side, we've run up some pretty good budget surpluses. What have we done with those surpluses? We've given $11 million over the last 8 years back to the taxpayers when we're setting the rate. So here's how that happens. This $18 million number, we have a budget surplus. We say, we're gonna put $1 million towards this. It's an offsetting revenue. Right. So this 18 million now becomes 17 million. And that's what we've done. Yeah. For 8 years, we've given $11 million back of budget surplus, because we're always trying to keep the taxes low on the town side, right? So when we talked about the actual rate you pay in your property tax, it's made up of 4 components. This is going back to what you said, Kathy. You have your town portion, and these are 2020 and 2021's numbers. So your town portion last year was $4.66. That's on every $1,000 of value you have in your home. That town portion went down from $4.66 to $4.16. And as I mentioned at one of the council meetings, that's a historically low number. I could not find, going through all the books, going back to looking at the town tax rate, the municipal part of it, it being lower than $4.16. Now again, home values are at their highest ever too. But that also means people have more equity in their homes today in Londonderry than they've ever had at any time, right? So town went down from $4.66 to $4.16. The local school portion, you see it's a lot more because the local school budget is, so roughly the town portion is about, say, 25% of your taxes, and the school portion is about 75%, is a good way to look at it. It's a little, those numbers are a little less when you factor in the county, but it's basically, three-fourths, to 1/4. So the school went from $12.66 to $11.77. The state, there's the local state tax portion of the schools went from $1.93 to $1.65. And then we have the county portion, which is the lowest of the costs, and that's went from 86 cents down to 80 cents. So you add those 4 things up, and you see the tax rate went down from $20.11 last year to now being $18.38.
$8 would be nice.
Yes, that would be.
$8 would be wonderful. But $18.38, which is comparatively speaking, when you look at the tax rates in the area, or in southern New Hampshire,
Huge.
Londonderry has one of the lowest.
Lowest, yeah.
Neighboring Derry is a lot
Derry's
higher
through the roof.
And always
Yeah.
higher.
than what Londonderry is. And the reason for that is because, people always say, well, we have all of this development up by the airport. How come that, isn't lowering our taxes? Ladies and gentlemen, it is. That's all factored into this. If that value,
Oh.
here's our little thing, right?
We should
Let's-
put that on the website.
let's
Like,
say-
take pictures
That's
and put this on the
true.
website. I feel like
But no,
useful to
let's
people.
say up
It
at the
is, yeah.
airport, there's, let's say there's $200 million of value up by the airport, okay? Well, if that wasn't there, if that value wasn't on any of those buildings,
Imagine.
you're now taking $200 million off
Out
of
of it,
this
yeah.
$5 billion. By the way, the town's total valuation is a little over $5 billion. It's about $5.1 billion. When I started here, it was $2.8 billion.
so you've doubled it.
So 8 years ago, it was $2.8 billion. It's now $5.1 billion.
Would you say
Okay.
a lot of that is Pettingill?
It's all of the new development.
Yeah.
I want to say it's all of the new development.
Okay.
Again, values on properties have gone up over time, right? So, a significant portion of it is just the values increasing. However, another significant portion of it is all of the new development up by Pettingill Road, even with Woodmont.
Yep.
In the few properties they have, that land is all significantly more valued now because of all the infrastructure that's in there. And that's only going to continue to grow as well. And keep in mind, the valuation went up significantly, even though we lost $180 million of value from the power plant, right? So that's kind of it all explained in a nutshell.
Kevin,
There'll be a
something-
quiz now, so put your books away, get your paper and pens out.
But something that I know
That's-
you're too humble to mention, but people that have been in town know that, the last 7 years, Pettingill Road, that's to your credit, because that was very much taking forever to open, and there were a lot of delays, and you came in with fresh eyes and fresh ideas, and you saw a way to make that happen. So the reason we have this low rate, and many good people involved, but you were the leader on that front, and you don't say that, but truly those businesses and that revenue that we have coming in through taxes is because of the development, and more to come up in Pettingill Road, because
Wow.
that draws a lot of businesses in too,
You
corporations.
made Londonderry
You
place
really
businesses
did.
want to come.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate that. I will tell you, it's been a team effort all the way.
yeah.
There's so many people behind the scenes. The counselors, Sherry, your husband has
Yeah.
been, he went from the planning board to being on the town council, and
That's very true.
when the foundation was laid too when I came into this position, because at that point the Ray Resorick Highway had gone in, and there was a stub
Yeah,
put in
that's right.
right at where Pettingill
yeah.
Road
That's
would then
right,
be
that's
built.
right.
But that stub was only put in because of the work of our former engineer, Janusz Szysowski,
Yes.
who insisted to DOT that there be a stub for the future Pettingill Road.
Yes,
And I'm sure people at the time
Yes.
thought, whenever that is,
Whenever,
right?
and we did, those of us, right? that
But
were-
and
and
it's,
Kathy Wagner,
It's
and there were a
actually
lot of
very
good
heavily
people.
traveled.
Kathy was
Wagner,
involved in
yes,
it.
a lot of good people.
it's the work of the planning
Yeah.
staff and the engineering staff, and just a lot of people, again, behind the scenes, making Londonderry a very business-centric, business-friendly community, and wanting to work with developers when
Right,
they come in.
right.
And it's paid off in dividends
Yeah.
for us. It really has. And I think
Takes a village.
we should all. It does, Sherry. You say that all the
Takes a-
time.
yes, it takes
does,
a
and we
village.
should all be
That's
very
true.
proud
Yeah.
of what we've all been able to accomplish. Sherry, you know this, and Kathy, because you have sat in on a lot of my senior staff meetings. I always, from time to time, will use the Patriots over the years as an analogy, because it's the whole concept is team.
Yes. 100%.
And if everyone isn't doing their part
Right.
to make it work, none of it will work, right? And
That's
no
the
one
truth.
person can do it by themselves. It takes a team effort, and everyone rowing in the same direction. And as Bill Belichick likes to say, everyone just do their job.
Right,
You know?
very true. Just
That
that's
is the
very true.
truth.
Do your job with pride and
Yeah.
humility and
That is the
working for the
truth,
greater good,
definitely.
and these great
because
things
if everyone's
happen.
fighting against
Yeah,
each other,
exactly.
Nothing gets done.
Nothing
nothing
gets
at
done.
all will
Yep.
get
Yeah.
And you
done.
talk about this being a place for businesses to come
Oh
to.
my
Sherry and I had
Oh, we had a wonderful
we have to give a
morning.
beautiful shout out to a couple who
Yes,
came into Sherry's
yes.
office this morning who were dead set on opening a business here in Londonderry.
Really?
It's called The Nest.
The family nest.
The
Oh,
family
It's
nest.
gonna
I've
be-
seen this on Facebook.
Yes,
He's
yes.
one of the guys who met you at the gym. So.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
hey,
Yes.
I meet a lot of people there.
That's what I said.
And they took a
So,
big risk.
They took a
they
big
put
risk.
everything into
Londonderry
this.
couple. He came back to town. He grew up here.
Oh,
Decided to come back. This is the best place to raise his family. Best place to open a business. They were
3 children.
very excited, and they're
very nice.
in
So
the works
wonderful.
of
Yeah,
we'll
but
show a
yeah.
mini
we were
video
so
clip at the end of
excited
the
and,
show, but
yeah,
it's just one of many businesses who
Jamie
want to
and
come
Ryan,
here.
Gretchen.
Yes.
I think we're saying the last name right.
Gretchel.
Gretchel.
Yes.
And the whole concept is different because it's going to be a wonderful coffee shop and for your drinks hot and cold. But the real concept is they want a place for moms and dads to feel welcome. So bring your children that are crying.
Ah,
Change
nice.
diapers
That
there.
is a
if you
good-
need to
that's-
breastfeed.
yeah, they
if
need
you,
something like
you know,
that.
if you need to have some quiet time,
They'll have a
chalkboards.
kids area, but they were very
Oh,
set on
yes.
Londonderry and making
Yeah.
this happen in
See.
Londonderry.
Are they going
so.
to have babysitters?
That's
Oh, that's actually that's a good suggestion.
yes, you know, and I think with our
So that the
great
mother
Drop
can
your kids
enjoy
off on
their
Friday night.
coffee, yeah.
But they've really thought of everything, you know, changing areas, and the neatest thing, we'll have Aaron and Drew put up, but they actually have a snack dispenser that's all, you know, very sanitary and clean. You don't have to pay for it. You can just go up and take, you know, your little bowl, so you have your little snacks that the little ones like. It's just going to be a haven for
That will be
parents.
different.
And Jamie described to us feeling so alone when she had their first child, and they were living in another community, and there really weren't any groups or outreaches to help. And then together, they've invested, as Kirby said, everything they have into this new business.
That's great.
It's going to be located near our Super Walk, Salon
Salon
Bogar, right on the end there. So we're excited. March is the day. So if you can
Wonderful.
like their pages, get involved, share the
It's very
the
popular
word.
on Facebook, I'll tell you that.
And
I've
it's actually
seen their
cool
Facebook
because
page.
it's a constant, like the kids that grew up here are coming back with their families.
Yes, that's
that is
right.
it.
great.
That's
huge.
Yeah, and a great
that's
2-minute
big.
video that you can watch. Kirby and I watched it, and it will melt your heart and see their sincerity and love of the community. And they need us, because the only way these small businesses can survive and keep coming to us is if we support them and, you know, and stop in and lift them up. So
We'll have
you're
to
gonna
do
love
a
it,
show.
though. Yeah, yes.
already talked
Definitely
about
have
it.
to do the show.
Yes,
We're on the
Bonnie,
bus.
right?
That would
Yep,
be,
exactly.
yeah.
So that was exciting news today.
Yeah,
that was really
good.
nice for the season and all. So
Excellent.
yeah.
But it's not. It's just not just a town for big industry businesses. Just also the smaller businesses.
You know, but do we have any other questions on this? Because I'm almost wondering, Kevin, do you just want to give just a quick, just summary of it, just because it's. I feel
like that was a summary.
Yeah,
Thank you. I was just thinking. I'm like,
I
yeah.
thought that was a summary. I think it's just to kind of say it one more time, because the way you explained it, it makes sense, and you can see the numbers and
Well,
the percentages.
I would say this: if anyone, still has questions about their assessment, call the assessing department. The folks in there will be happy to walk
Ashley
you
and Laura are
through.
fantastic.
Ashley and
Oh,
Laura are
Ashley
great
and Laura,
in
my
our
goodness.
office. They're happy to answer questions about, by the way, property tax credits that are available, whether they're the veterans credits that people may not be taking advantage of right now, the elderly tax credits, disabled tax credits, all of those things. If you have questions about it, call the assessing department. They're more than happy to walk you through it.
And just make sure people know that they have to qualify. So
Very good.
Right.
point.
not
Yeah.
every senior
Yeah.
gets
Right,
a senior
exactly.
discount.
No, they are
Yeah.
means tested.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I would just say if people have questions about this, call my office. I got into a spirited discussion with a resident on Facebook, and I finally said, here's my number, make an appointment, and come in and let's talk about it. And he did, and it was a great discussion. And, if anyone wants to do that, I'm available.
You always are,
Call
right.
Kirby 432-1100 extension 120, and Kirby will be happy to set up an appointment for you to come in and talk about this or anything.
That's the thing
happy
is
to do
there's a
so.
completely open door policy.
Absolutely.
You're happy to
that's
meet with
right.
anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Very
be
good.
careful checking with other residents, like, come to the source.
And
I was
on
gonna
Facebook.
say-
Yeah, come
And
to
on
the source.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Not that everything that's written on Facebook is incorrect, but there is a lot of inaccurate
This is
information,
100%.
misinformation that people
Definitely.
have. Give us a call at the town, and we're happy to give you the facts and explain the whole process
And
to you.
is this something we can put on our
Yeah, I
town
mean,
page as an example?
maybe what
or-
I'll do, Kirby, is write up a summary.
Yes, there you go.
Something
Because I
like
think
that.
it would
Right.
might help residents so that I could, who might not be comfortable coming in
Sure,
or
yeah,
anything like that, who would
absolutely.
want some more of an explanation, being able to refer them to the
Right.
website.
Absolutely.
That's
And
Yeah.
remember too, with our wonderful cable studio, all of the council meetings, the budget meetings, all of this is
all on
available
there.
to us to
Yep.
watch.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of clarity that happens during those meetings, and residents are there asking great questions, and they ask questions among themselves, so there's a lot of good people working for the town too. So our cable studio,
Yeah, they have to
phenomenal.
get involved. If they don't get involved,
Then they have
then
no right
they
to
got no
complain.
right
Here's to
to
hoping people come to
complain.
the deliberative session this
Yeah.
year.
You know, that's
Yeah.
what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
people, they want to complain and complain about
they
everything,
don't-
but they don't get
They don't
involved.
right.
And they're not complaining to the right person.
It's like the old Girl
They're,
Scout. The
you
story
know,
keeps
yeah,
getting
it's
bigger
just
and better
getting, yeah.
and twisted, and just go to the source so you can get the right answers. 'cause
So if people have
Definitely.
questions regarding why is the school rate so high, they should contact the
The
school
school
board, the
district.
school
Absolutely.
district.
I've
And
already
they can-
sent
they can
people to the
contact
school district.
Right, yeah, and that's a great point. If people have questions about the school budget or the school rate, absolutely, call the
Yeah.
district up and,
Why
talk
is
to the
their rate
appropriate
so much
people
higher
there.
than the town?
Yeah.
Because we are essentially two different entities.
We are
Two
two
different
different,
governments.
two
Right.
two
Two
completely
different-
separate
And
governments.
that's what I think a lot of people that I've
Don't
heard from,
understand.
they don't understand that.
No.
Yeah, wonderful.
Very
well, thank you
good.
for coming
Thank
on.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
Merry
Yeah.
Christmas and Happy
Merry
Holidays.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas
Merry
to
Christmas.
everyone. All right, and with that, we will say goodbye. And
Bye.
thank you.
Merry
Bye-bye.
Christmas.
Merry
See you soon.
Christmas.
See you soon.